The history of Indian people in South Africa is a compelling narrative of indentured labor, economic struggle, political resistance, and cultural perseverance. Their presence in the country fundamentally shaped its social, economic, and political landscape. Arrival of Indian indentured laborers 1860 to 1911. The vast majority of Indian South Africans trace their ancestry to indentured laborers who arrived between 1860 and 1911. The British colonial authorities in Natal, now KwaZulu-Natal, desperately needed cheap, readily available labor for their burgeoning sugarcane plantations after the abolition of slavery. Facing a reluctance from the local African population to work under harsh conditions, they turned to British India, which was experiencing widespread poverty and famine. Over 150,000 Indians, primarily from Madras, Chennai, and Kolkata ports, were transported to Natal under contracts of indenture. While some were Hindi speakers from northern India, the majority were Tamil and Telugu speakers from the south. The conditions on the ships were often deplorable, with many perishing from disease. Upon arrival, laborers faced brutal working conditions on the plantations, akin to semi-slavery. They endured long hours, meager wages, corporal punishment, and lived in squalid compounds. The promised land or return passage at the end of their 5-year contracts often did not materialize, trapping many in a cycle of poverty and debt. Passenger Indians and early communities. Alongside the indentured laborers, a smaller but significant number of passenger Indians also arrived. These were free migrants, primarily Gujarati Muslims, who came as traders, merchants, and professionals. They established businesses, particularly in Natal and the Transvaal, forming the basis of a nascent Indian commercial class. These two groups, indentured laborers and passenger Indians, initially existed as distinct communities but gradually forged a shared identity in the face of common discrimination. Early discrimination and resistance. From the outset, Indian communities faced severe racial discrimination from the white colonial authorities. Laws were enacted to restrict their movement, land ownership, trading rights, and political participation. They were often denied basic civil liberties and subjected to indignities such as being forced to carry passes. It was in this environment that Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi arrived in South Africa in 1893 as a young lawyer. His personal experiences with racial prejudice, such as being thrown off a train, galvanized him into political activism. He developed his philosophy of satyagraha, truth force, or nonviolent resistance in South Africa. Gandhi founded the Natal Indian Congress (NIC) in 1894, uniting various Indian groups to fight against discriminatory laws. He led numerous campaigns, including protests against the Black Act, Asiatic Registration Act of 1906, which required all Asians to register and carry identity cards. His leadership laid the groundwork for the later anti-apartheid struggle, apartheid era and continued struggle. Under the apartheid regime, 1948 to 1994, Indian South Africans were formally classified as a separate racial group. They were subjected to the infamous Group Areas Act, which resulted in forced removals from their homes and businesses in areas declared white. Communities like Cato Manor in Durban and District 6 in Cape Town, where Indians had lived for generations, were destroyed. This legislation caused immense social and economic disruption, hitting small traders particularly hard. Despite these hardships, Indian South Africans continued their fight for justice. Many became active participants in the broader anti-apartheid movement, aligning with the African National Congress, ANC, and other liberation organizations. Prominent Indian leaders like Dr. Yusuf Dadoo and Dr. Monty Naika played crucial roles in forging alliances with African leaders, notably the Zuma Naika-Dadoo Pact of 1947, which committed to a united front against racial discrimination. Indian activists faced imprisonment, banning orders, and torture alongside their black African comrades. With the advent of democracy in 1994, Indian South Africans gained full citizenship rights and opportunities. They have made significant contributions in all spheres of South African life, including politics, business, academia, arts, and sports. However, the legacy of apartheid still lingers, and discussions around affirmative action and economic redress continue to shape their experiences. Today, the majority of Indian South Africans reside in KwaZulu-Natal, particularly in and around Durban, which boasts one of the largest Indian populations outside of India. They have maintained a rich cultural heritage, including diverse languages, religions, Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, culinary traditions, and festivals, all of which enrich the multicultural fabric of South Africa.